When most people think of a shotgun shell, they probably picture something pretty simple, but the reality? Oh, it's a surprisingly deep and complex world of super specialized ammunition, way more interesting than what you typically see in the movies. So, let's crack one of these open and really see what's going on inside. So, what's actually flying out of the barrel when you pull the trigger? Is it a cloud of tiny little pellets? A swarm of miniature steel darts? Or is it a single, solid chunk of lead? Well, the wild thing is, it's all of the above. And trust me, that is just the beginning. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with what I call the big three. These are the types that form the foundation of pretty much all shotgun ammo. Then we'll dive into the specialized, professional, and tactical shells. After that, we get to the fun stuff, some truly exotic and historical rounds. And finally, we'll decode the numbers on the box so you can understand it all. All right, let's kick things off with the absolute basics. To really get a handle on anything else, you have to start right here. These three shell types, birdshot, buckshot, and slugs, are the true workhorses of the shotgun world, and each one is engineered for a completely different job. First up, we've got birdshot. And yeah, the name says it all. This shell is packed with hundreds of tiny metal pellets. The whole goal here is to create a wide, expanding pattern. Think of it like throwing a net, not a rock. It's perfect for maximizing your chances of hitting small, fast-moving targets like birds or clay pigeons. Its sweet spot is right around 20 to 40 yards. Next, we step it up to buckshot. Now, this shell has way fewer pellets than birdshot, but each one of those pellets is much, much larger and heavier. This gives it a whole lot more power and penetration. It's kind of the go-to choice for medium-sized game hunting, and it's also what you'll often see used for law enforcement and home defense. Its effective range pushes out to about 50 yards. And finally, we have the slug. This is where the shotgun totally changes its personality. A slug round fires a single, solid projectile, basically turning the shotgun into a short-range rifle. It's all about accuracy and maximum impact, used for hunting big game or even for punching through barriers. It can be effective all the way out to 100 yards, but that power comes at a price. You are going to feel it in your shoulder. The recoil is heavy. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. You can really see the pattern here, right? As the projectile gets bigger and heavier, going from hundreds of tiny birdshot pellets to one massive slug, the effective range and the recoil climb right along with it. It's a perfect illustration of that classic trade-off between spread and pure power. Okay, so we've got the basics down. Now, let's see how these ideas get pushed to the next level in the professional world. Beyond the big three, there's a whole category of shells engineered for very specific jobs, mostly for law enforcement and military applications where you need unique effects and absolute precision. A prime example is less lethal ammunition. The whole point here isn't to penetrate, but to deliver blunt force trauma to control a situation. You've got things like beanbags and rubber slugs that travel at a lower speed to minimize risk. But let's be super clear, these are still potentially dangerous, even fatal, if they're misused, which is why their use is governed by really strict protocols. Now, this is where the engineering gets super cool. With standard buckshot, the pellets start spreading out almost immediately. But FliteControl technology uses a special wad that acts kind of like a tiny parachute, holding the pellets together in a tight, controlled group for a lot longer. It's not about adding more power, it's all about adding precision and stretching out that effective range. Then you have stuff that sounds like it's straight out of an action movie, API, which stands for Armor Piercing Incendiary. This is a dual-purpose military round. It has a hardened core to punch through light armor, followed by a compound that ignites on impact. Now, this is a really important distinction. This is an anti-material round. It's designed to disable vehicles and equipment, not to be used against people. All right, now we get to the really strange stuff. This is the fun part. These are the rounds that are famous from movies, video games, and old stories. Some are just visually spectacular, some were failed experiments, and, well, some are just downright dangerous. I love this quote because it just perfectly captures the visual shock and awe of our first exotic round. It's a shell that feels like it was designed purely for cinematic effect, creating a spectacle that is both terrifying and kind of mesmerizing to watch. And here it is, Dragon's Breath. This thing shoots a massive fireball of burning magnesium sparks. It looks unbelievably intimidating, right? But in reality, it's all show and no go. The sparks have pretty much zero accuracy or stopping power, and they create a huge fire risk. It's a cool novelty, but it is not a practical tool by any stretch. Next up, flechettes. This is a shell that fires a cloud of tiny steel darts. Now, the idea, which was developed back during the Vietnam War, was actually pretty smart. They thought these darts could slice through thick jungle foliage better than pellets could. But in practice, the darts were unstable in flight, which made them wildly inaccurate and unreliable. A promising concept that just didn't work out. Okay, this next one is a history lesson in what not to do. Seriously, back in times of scarcity, like during the Great Depression, people would sometimes improvise a slug by carefully cutting a birdshot shell like this. While it sometimes worked, it was incredibly dangerous. The separated hull could easily get lodged in the barrel, leading to a catastrophic failure of the shotgun. This is absolutely a do not try this at home situation. So we've seen all these different shell types, but what do all the numbers and letters on the side of the box actually mean? Well, all shotgun shells are classified using two key metrics that tell you everything you need to know about their size and power: gauge and load. This is the first thing that trips everyone up, and for good reason. It's totally backwards. For both birdshot and buckshot, the numbering system is inverse. A bigger number on the box means smaller pellets inside. So number 8 birdshot is made of tiny pellets, while number 4 birdshot has larger ones. Same logic for buckshot. Number 4 buck is smaller than double-aught buck. And believe it or not, that same weird backwards logic applies to the gauge, which is basically the shell's diameter. This chart shows it really clearly. The larger the gauge number, the smaller the shell. So a 20 gauge is smaller than a 12 gauge, and a 12 gauge is smaller than a 10 gauge. By the way, 12 gauge is by far the most common you'll see. It's a great balance of power and manageable recoil. And the final piece of the code is the load. This just tells you its power level. Light loads are great for training since they have low recoil. Heavy loads step up the power for things like hunting or defense. And then you have magnum loads, which are the most powerful you can get, delivering maximum range and impact, but also, you guessed it, punishing recoil. And of course, before we wrap up, there are a few others worth a quick honorable mention. You have things like mini shells, which are shorter, giving you more capacity in your shotgun with less recoil. You have flare shells, which are purely for signaling, not a weapon at all. And then there's the historic buck and ball load, an early attempt to get the best of both worlds by combining one big ball with a few smaller pellets. So from the raw, focused power of a slug to the cinematic but pretty much useless display of dragon's breath, shotgun shells are just a masterclass in specialized design. As we wrap this up, I have to ask, which one of these shells surprised you the most?